the power to dissolve Parliament and the power to summon Parliament after the dissolution are powers that are vested exclusively in the President by the Constitution.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. If you're in the mood to discuss Guyana politics and the Constitution, you're in the right place. You heard the Attorney General said it himself. So yes, President Irfaan Ali has the power to reopen Parliament. So why hasn't he done so? What's taking him so long? To be frank, it's kinda holding up the country's business. As far as making laws and with regards to the opposition being a watchdog by overseeing the interest of the people who voted for the opposition party in particular, and don't forget holding the government accountable. So considering those factors, Parliament needs to resume as quickly as possible to avoid the perception of disenfranchising opposition supporters. The President of Guyana usually ends Parliament to pave the way for the general and regional elections to elect or re-elect a new president. And this is a simple process. It is done by signing a special document. It's that simple. Just a scribbling of a pen across the paper and boom, there you have it. The proclamation is signed and Parliament is ready to be dissolved or to be reopened in this case. Once Parliament reopens, the new or returning members of Parliament have to be sworn in by law, making their positions official. In today's podcast, we'll touch on that in relation to the swearing in of Azruddin Mohamed as the official opposition leader and also a member of Parliament. And why is this even an issue? Well, two things are going on simultaneously. So we'll be looking at this from both sides. Then you can tell me in the comment section what you think is going on here. First, the president is yet to reopen Parliament to conduct the nation's business. Secondly, we have the leader of the We Invest in Nationhood party, WIN, alleging that the government is intentionally dragging its feet on reopening Parliament to spite him and his party. With that being said, one has to ask, why is Mohamed so seemingly eager to get into Parliament? For some people, it's looking sus. Now, if you've been closely following the Mohameds and getting into their personal business, you already know both Azruddin and his father, Nizar Mohamed, are in a bucket load of you-know-what. Despite being slapped with sanctions by the United States, Azruddin Mohamed's brand new party clinched second place at the September 1, 2025 elections, effectively kicking out Aubrey Norton and the PNCR/APNU as the opposition. Now that was something to watch, and it is a major victory for WIN. Fast forward to October 2, 2025. On that day in Florida, U.S. prosecutors took action. Both father and son Mohameds went from simply being sanctioned by the U.S. to now being indicted by a court for the Southern District of Florida. And it's no simple indictment. They've been criminally charged with 11 counts, including fraud, money laundering, and bribery related to gold exports. That changes the game. Anywho's, word on the street is that Mohamed is rushing to be sworn in, thinking that officially becoming the opposition leader and a member of Parliament will somehow magically protect him from being prosecuted in the US. In other words, provide immunity. I'll tell you this, it's a good argument and it's worth digging into. However, the question here is not if this is true, that the president is stalling the reopening of Parliament and the swearing in of all members of Parliament. The question is, does it even matter? That's the real question. Simply put, the president has to sign a document saying Parliament is closed for business and then do the same thing when it's time to reopen for business. And all of this has to happen within a certain time frame set out in the Constitution. Like I said, all he has to do is scribble his signature across that paper and boom, there you have it. Let's be frank. The truth of the matter is, Ali can take as long as he wants, as long as he sticks to the constitutional time frame. Point blank, period. Regardless of who is in their feelings about the timeline he's taking to open Parliament. Okay? Okay. But we still have some more grounds to cover. We'll also tell you what President Bharrat Jagdeo said about the claim or the idea that Azruddin Mohamed could be protected from U.S. criminal charges if he's the official opposition leader. Let's bring back Attorney General Anil Nandlall.
The 12th Parliament was dissolved by His Excellency the President on the 4th day of July 2025. And the Constitution says that it must be summoned 4 months from the end of that session if Parliament has been dissolved. So it's 4 months from the 4th of July, and that will take us somewhere by the 3rd of November 2025. The President has spoken on this matter, and he has said that Parliament will be summoned within the constitutionally prescribed time frame. The President was referring, obviously, to Article 69 of the Constitution, which permits Parliament to be summoned within 4 months from the date that it was last dissolved.
Yeah, the President has spoken on this matter. I think it was on September 30th when he was at a function where he pretty much bragged about having a lot of time left to perform his constitutionally mandated duty, which is to get the business of this legislative branch of the government going. What's the holdup? Is he planning to wait until minutes to midnight on the 3rd of November to sign that proclamation, which is required to get the 13th session of Parliament going? Come on now. Let's not play games with the interest of the people, who are essentially the government. They just voted for certain officials to carry out those functions. But the people is the government. You hold the power. Don't forget that. You have the power. You are the power. In a democratic society, in a democratic country like Guyana. However, we're talking about Guyana here, okay? So we heard from Nandlall, of course. But somehow, this appears to be politics intertwined with semantics. And when I say semantics, a lot of semantics, okay? The war of words. Let's be clear. Even though the Constitution says the President has 4 months to reconvene Parliament, it doesn't mean that Irfaan Ali, who is the President in this case, have to wait until the last day, the nth hour, to restart Parliament. It could happen anytime within that time frame, as you heard Nandlall said himself. So why isn't Parliament reopened yet so the party representatives could carry out the legal business of the country? Whether it's disagreeing or arguing about laws, regulations, rules, and policies, or agreeing for the greater good of the citizens, they need to be in Parliament to get on with business. Unless this is a political power play to buy time, hoping that the United States would request the Guyana government to turn over the Mohammeds to be extradited to the U.S. to stand trial. Attorney General Nandlall has already said that the government is ready to ship the Mohammeds off on the first flight out. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. But getting back to Mohamed, why is Mohamed so seemingly eager to get into Parliament? For the record, when it comes to the question of getting protected because he's the official leader of the opposition, when and if that actually happens, apparently that won't be happening. And by that I mean getting protection, getting immunity because of his position as opposition leader, assuming he gets to that point. The reason why we're saying this is, according to Reuters News, Vice President Jagdeo said serving in Guyana's parliament would not provide immunity to opposition leader and mining businessman Azruddin Mohamed following the indictment by the Florida court. So, there you have it. You tell me what you think in the comment section about all of this. We can't wait to hear from you. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this podcast. Stay tuned for what's coming up next.